Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored and really grateful to be here. And I'm always blown away by the work of Turning Green and the students that come through the organization and go on to do some amazing work in the world. So it truly is an honor to be here. So I guess to start, I'll give a little background and context to who I am, and then I would love to dive back into some dialogue with Farmer Al. I'm blown away, Farmer Al, about what you're up to, and I know farming is a deep challenge, a big challenge that I'm actually looking to dive into soon. So I'm really inspired, and I'm really looking forward to connecting with you and learning more about your practices on the land. So give a little context to who I am. As Liz mentioned, I work for a nonprofit called Kiss the Ground. I've been with the organization for 3 years. And the organization has been around for the last 8 years and was started by some really great friends of mine, Ryland Englehart, Finian Makepeace, and Lauren Tucker, in literally their living room in Venice, California. And the origins of the organization really was inspired by a moment that Ryland had when he was traveling to a conference and learned about the power of soil. He learned that soil had the ability to sequester carbon and address climate issues around the world. And this was something he had never heard before. Came back to Venice, got a couple of his friends together, and really wanted to be able to take this to the world because he started sharing with other people and nobody had heard about the power of soil. And so he felt like, if this is something that, my community isn't aware of, I wonder how many other people don't know the impact that soil can have on our world, climate, our food production, etc. And so thus Kiss the Ground was born, and started off creating a lot of media content, because that's how a lot of us get our information, is through media. And we felt like that content can go far and wide and really inspire and awaken people to how important soil is. And since then, the organization has evolved not only to produce media, but also we support farmers. And that program is evolving as we speak. But to date, we have trained, in terms of providing support and educational support, around regenerative agriculture, about 35 farmers to date. And that number is growing. And we really just want to use our resources and our network to identify what needs farmers have, in order to thrive and continue doing the work that we do. Because I don't know about you, I'm learning how to farm, but I have so much respect for farmers because they work hard. They are our unsung heroes. And so we really just, are driven to find out what the needs are. How can we support farmers so that they can do the work that they do, that they're called to do? And so that's one of our other programs, again, is supporting our farmers. We also have a policy program in our organization, because we know that, our elected officials have such a great influence on our day-to-day lives, and how things are, how that impacts our lives and our actions and our systems. And so we're working with policymakers to focus on soil health initiatives so that we can, again, put the money and the resources in the right place. And lastly, we have we call it our advocacy program. And essentially what that is helping to train individuals like you, who we all eat food. We all can play a role in addressing climate issues through the way we manage our soil. And so people who are inspired to do that can take an online course, learn about soil health, and then bring it into their communities. And so we have an online program that anyone can take to dive deep into soil health and learn about the impact that soil has on our community. So those are the pillars of Kiss the Ground. And what inspired me to get involved, in a nutshell, was really, I studied nutrition in school at Cal Poly Pomona. And I've always had an interest in, I wouldn't say always, actually, it probably sparked when my latter years in high school as an athlete, just starting to understand the impact that food has on our bodies. and wanted to learn about health and nutrition. And that evolved into wanting to learn about where our food comes from. And from there, I developed an interest in gardening and wanting to learn how to grow my own food. And that just sent me down this rabbit hole of, you know, food needs healthy soil in order to grow. And at that time, Ryland, my friend Ryland and Finn and Lauren were starting the organization Kiss the Ground. And that just blew me away because I learned that it's not about just food, it's how we grow our food that impacts human health, environmental health. And I find that I actually talk more about soil these days than anything else, because it is the foundation for health. And so um, and really just wanting to inspire others to make that connection. And as a also I feel called to share that, you know, as a person of color, I don't find very many people who look like me in these spaces, and really wanting to be a voice to inspire others that look like me, to who may have an interest that don't see others out in the world doing this work. That, and there are, you know, women of color, men of color from diverse backgrounds doing this work, but oftentimes we don't have as big a platform sometimes for various reasons to share what we're up to. And so I mean, as a mother of two young boys, like I really want to use my voice as much as I can to inspire those who are coming after me, to empower them to speak up and really take on their calling, and understand that we all have a connection to this beautiful land, and we can be beautiful land stewards. So that's a little bit about me. And now I'd love to, I'm really excited to transition back to Farmer Al on his farm, and would love to ask you some more questions, Farmer Al, if you're okay. 'Cause
Of course.
I'm deeply inspired by what you're up to and would love to learn, yeah, what got you into farming? How, I know you've been farming for quite some time, and what was that moment that led you to start a farm?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that question because it was a moment, and it was a specific moment in time. I was probably about your age. I think I was 27 or so,
Oh, you're so
and I
kind.
was a school teacher. I was a school teacher in Honolulu, Hawaii at Punahou School, teaching ancient world history. Um, and I had a housemate who had been a good friend and a track teammate of mine at UC Berkeley. And it was his idea. One morning he came to me and he said, we were having breakfast. It was a Sunday morning. And I just got interrupted. Maddie was calling me. So my daughter Maddie was calling me just now. So anyway, so that moment turned into an inspiration for me. His name was Bill. And Bill said, Al, we're going to become farmers and we're going to grow papayas on the Big Island. And we both got very excited, of course, as only a young 27-year-old can do. And we went down to the store. We bought 2 papayas, went to the garden store and bought a shovel and some Dixie cups, came back to the house, and we scooped out the seeds, ate the papayas as part of our ritual, and we planted 300 papaya trees that very same day. So that was, believe it or not, that's exactly how I got into farming. From the moment of inspiration to the planting of the seed was about 2 hours.
That's beautiful.
And I can
Yeah.
tell you that was about 50 years ago. And I can tell you this, it has been just as exciting and rewarding, I would say, and fulfilling even, for every day of those 50 years. It's a good life, and growing food for others, especially really wonderful, delicious food, is a joy.
I feel that yeah, to spend your time outdoors on the land, that's what I'm creating space for. I didn't mention that I've been with Kiss the Ground for 3 years, but I'm in a transition period, actually wrapping up my time at Kiss the Ground as an employee the end of this year, to work on a farm in Fillmore, because I'm really feeling deeply called to put what I get to talk about every day to practice, and get away from my, like, peel away from my computer and connect with the land. And so it's really great to hear that after 50 years you're still loving it. So
Yes, I am.
that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
you learn how to put up with the mud, and you in the winter, and the dust in the summer, and the heat and the sweat and everything. And yet it's joyful to do it, and it's rewarding, and it's you can build a good life there. And of course, I married my lovely wife Becky, who is here with me, and we have two beautiful daughters, Maddie 17 and Millie's 14. Or no, Millie's 15 now, and I think they both want to live their life and do their work here on the farm as well. So they're my next generation.
That's so
But
important.
I
That's
was gonna
Go ahead.
make a suggestion. I'm inspired by the work you guys are doing, and how you're teaching others to become farmers. Um, you can certainly think about the idea of having an event. It could be a one-day event, or it could be a weekend event, or it could be a week-long event here at Frog Hollow Farm. We would love um, to spend time with young farmers that are learning how to farm.
Oh, we would certainly love. Thank you for that invitation. We would definitely love
Yes.
to on that. Yeah, so thank you. I'll definitely be in touch about that. We have something we've actually been doing that I haven't mentioned. We launched a film this year called Kiss the Ground. It's a full-length feature film that is you can find on Netflix. And we actually have farms around not just the country but around the world. Obviously being really mindful with COVID protocols, but some have been screening the film on farms, and bringing, like, having small gatherings, screening the film, and just helping people see the power of soil, and really celebrating and honoring farmers around the world who are doing great work. So that's one, yeah, kind of offering that we've been doing, and really wanting to connect more people with land. I think that's so important that many people just don't know where food comes from and don't know a farmer. And it's important to connect with where our food comes from. So
Well, it's interesting. We do connect with the people who eat our food. Not only do we connect with them directly at farmers markets by handing them a bag of peaches, for example, but we also have a great CSA program here at Frog Hollow Farm. We call it Happy Child CSA, and we have currently about 1,500 members who receive a weekly box of fruit and other produce, and even stuff that we make in our farm kitchen with the produce that we grow. So uh, we do connect with our CSA members directly. So they get a weekly box of fruit. They get a weekly newsletter with a note from Farmer Al. And then 2 or 3 times a year, they can come to the farm for an on-farm experience, such as during the blossoms. We have a blossom walk in March. We have a peach picking day in June. We have apple picking in October. And these are ways that Frog Hollow Farm provides access and connection to the families that are eating our fruit.
that's so important. I love that. So yeah, and so people can find out on your website the timing of when they could come and visit the farm and access the CSA program.
Yes, and we also have farm tours, which we organize throughout the summer months and sometimes even into the fall. So yeah, froghollow.com is our website. We're happy to have all of you visit us.
Thank
So
you.
I'm going to just jump in for a second also. So for many of you that are watching that are living all over the world, you'll get someday to come visit the farm. But Al, I wanted to just ask you in light of the pandemic, how have you had to adjust? Have you had to adjust, and what has that looked like?
Well, like everybody else, we've got a program of social distancing here on the farm. Everybody wears a mask. Even the guys out in the orchard who are up on ladders, and they're separated from each other by 6 feet or more, but they're even wearing masks. So we're just very careful. And we're doing what we always do, which is growing great food to feed people. And people are eating more at home nowadays, and we're finding a larger demand for what we do. So that's been good for us.
And in follow up to what Jess was just talking about, her new career path, following your footsteps, if you were to give advice to Jessica and to people just like her that are starting to transition to really being on the land, what wisdom would come from Farmer Al?
Well, you just have to take the bull by the horns, so to speak, a good agricultural term, and just do it. I mean, that's the only way. That's the best way to do it. Just find a piece of, people can actually start in their own backyard. Even if you live in an apartment, start, get some pots and put, grow some tomatoes on your balcony. I mean, just get started. Experience the joy of actually planting a seed, nurturing it, and watching it grow.
It's beautiful, because we all know now that yours started with papaya seeds. So
Yes, I did.
yeah, I feel that way. I feel like we've got a little backyard space, and I've been practicing for years composting, and I'm ready to scale up and learn from, on the farming level.
That's the great thing that what you're saying there, Jessica. That's the great thing to point out, and that is the fact that anybody can be a farmer in their own backyard, or maybe in a neighborhood farm project at a local park or something. There's places like that are springing up all over the world, all over the country. So and you can make compost in your own backyard. You could even make compost on the balcony of your apartment if you need to. So the things that we're talking about are not limited to a big farming operation like Frog Hollow Farm. I mean, this growing food is something that we all can do.
Absolutely. And I'm really glad you mentioned that. Soil can be regenerated. I mean, with the soil all around us. So whether you've got 1,000 acres or a tiny little plot or a parkway, soil, we are all called to be land stewards, and we can participate in our own way. I think I saw you trying to say something.
Speaking of land stewards, I'd love to give our students the opportunity to ask a couple questions of these two incredible humans.
Beautiful.
And they've been putting them in the chat. So I have a couple for you that I'm going to go ahead and read. One of them was, and I think both of you can answer this, have you seen the minds of people around you shift because of your work, and in what ways? So people close to you being impacted.
Well, I see that every day. I mean, especially at farmers markets, people are joyful about getting food that tastes as good as we're providing them. I'll never forget one of the most memorable quotes for me was this woman at the farmers market in San Francisco, the Ferry Building Farmers Market. She had been buying our Cal Red peaches for about 2 or 3 weeks, and finally, after having been eating them all that time, she came one last time to the market, and she said, did have some under the bag. She said, "Oh my God, all food should taste this good." That was a very inspiring moment for me.
Jessica?
But people are impacted by what they eat, and they remember it. It stays with them the rest of their life.
I just want to make a comment to Al that all food should taste as good as Frog Hollow food. Is it some of I don't know if it's your magical compost, but it's some of the most extraordinary produce you'll ever eat.
Thank you, Judy. It's the soil.
Do we have another question, Erin?
We do. What was your most difficult moment to overcome, a hardship that you faced, and how did you persevere and get through?
Good question.
I'm not taking credit for these questions. They are coming direct from PGC finalists in the chat. So hopefully they'll get to share them directly with both of you in the breakouts, but I just want to highlight a few that are rolling in because everybody's super engaged.
Boy, there've been many challenges. Every day there's something that comes up. there's always an equipment failure, equipment breakdown, or somebody doesn't show up that you're relying on. There's always bad news from the government. But I'd say my most challenging moment came when I had a car accident at the age of 38 years old. Frog Hollow Farm was only 4 or 5 years old at that time, and I wound up in the hospital for about a year. So that was a pretty challenging thing. But I must say that having the farm to come back to was something that carried me through those hard days.
And I'd love to share in that, Kiss the Ground, as I mentioned, has been around for 8 years, and we have evolved and grown significantly. And there's still a lot of growing, even though we're doing a lot of beautiful work in the world. There's still a lot of growing and things that we're, coming to awareness around in terms of how we can better serve communities, and specifically like all communities. I know that we originally were focused on farmers in the States, and we started looking at who are we serving? Are we really truly serving all people? And I think the film has really helped to bring awareness to that, in that I think we just realized that we can really be more diverse in our offerings and who we're like, serving completely. So that's truly shifted the lens in which we are looking at our work, and really making sure that we are more inclusive than ever.
Amen.
And I think that the film again has really brought that to light in a major way. Though it has a lot of beautiful things stories that it's telling, we realize it's missing some stories, and I think sometimes those moments are hard to face, but they're really beautiful opportunities to reflect and say, you know what, there's an opportunity here to grow and to continue evolving in our work and who we're serving.
And you championed so well. We have a question with us today. We have both finalists from the US, and we have 4 from Peru, Mexico, Colombia, and India. And a lot of us in the States and different places, but around the world, are wondering what we can do. So if each of you could give 3 specific takeaways of what these young people in their communities, be it inner city or around the world or out on a farm that we hope one day is as beautiful as Frog Hollow, what can they do not only to implement it, but also to help support the growth of organic and regenerative and soil health?
Well, I'll step in. I'll jump in first. The best, or this a really significant powerful way to support regenerative agriculture and sustainable agriculture is to buy organic. And the other one would be to support your local farms and buy your food locally. And the other one would be to share your values with your friends.
That's great, Farmer Al. I'd love to add, definitely food. Like, we all can participate in soil regeneration by getting to know a farmer, finding your local farmer, shopping locally at the farmer's market, or visit your local farm and get your food directly from there. And really, I would say, so this might be a little bit of a unique call to action, but find your whatever your calling is in life. What really drives you? I feel like what drives you can always come back to, like, stewarding the land. Really, if you really look at it, within Kiss the Ground, we all do work to find our calling. And mine is to awaken people to the possibilities. Well, the Kiss the Ground mission is to awaken people to the possibilities of regeneration. And my particular calling is to awaken people to their interconnectedness to all beings. And for me, I check in on that calling on a consistent basis as it connects with the work that I do. All beings, it's not just human beings, it's the living beings on the planet, the microbes, the soil, the plants. And I feel called to help people see that we are all interconnected. And so I think that can really help ground you in your service to the world as it connects to land stewardship, by just finding out what drives you, what really makes you get up in the morning, and brings joy in your life. And lastly is, connect with an organization that is doing this work, such as Kiss the Ground and Turning Green. And we have a lot of opportunities for people to get involved. And so if you go on our website, we have this Find Your Path platform that allows you to take a little quiz and learn about how you can engage and get involved in your own unique way.
So much of what you said is literally the heart and soul of this weekend. I think it's been, echoed by speakers before and after you. Thank you for sharing your advice with all of us. I know that I speak for everyone when I say you're heroes. And Jessica, you're soon to be a farmer. I have one more question that's coming in from the students. What's your favorite thing to plant? And how do you do it? Tell us the nitty gritty. Give us some takeaways of what we can grow and why you love it.
I would say my favorite thing to plant, believe it or not, is although I love planting all these trees and I love the month of February, which is when we plant trees here in Brentwood, California. But I love planting tomatoes. They are so abundant, they're so delicious, and they grow so beautifully. And they respond to tender loving care immediately. So a tomato is something, for me, it's a joyful plant to grow and to enjoy.
That's a great one, Farmer Al. I would say I have two. I can't pick one. So fruit bearing trees, I find so much joy. And when I moved to our home here in Pasadena, California, as soon as we moved here, we took out all the turf and started our food forest. And we started with fruit trees. And it's been really a joy watching those fruit trees grow over the years and start to bear fruit that we get to enjoy as a family and share with our community, and provide shade, for our family, and fruit for the local squirrels and the birds that call, our neighborhood their home as well. And my second, I love planting perennial plants. If you're not familiar with that term, there's two types of plants you can plant, are perennials and annuals. I'm a little bit of a lazy gardener in that I love to put plants in the ground that give continuously, and perennial plants such as like tree collards, or there's some perennial basils that exist, African basil and Tulsi basil, at least they're perennials in SoCal. Yeah, you just nurture them, give them a little compost here and there, and they continue to bear foods that you can eat throughout the year and throughout the years to come. So I really find joy in continuing to nurture those plants that live on for a significant amount of time.
That was beautiful. I want to just add a little note from me, just listening to the inspiration that has come from each of you. And I think just really having the opportunity through the Conscious Kitchen to get to know farmers and to, like you said, Jess, like I really feel like I'm part of the land. And during COVID, I have for years been talking about the farm that I'm going to start in my backyard, and I actually did it. And it has been the most inspiring, beautiful piece of my life. I go out every day and water. I'm watching my fig tree actually get leaves for the first time. I'm eating what I grow. And you begin this whole different appreciation. Like, I want to take care of the insects. I love the birds. You become one with everything around you. And it's an experience. My mom was, she gardened and grew things her whole life. And I couldn't understand how she'd work all day and come home and on weekends be planting and composting. And then you do it and you feel it. And I think your hands in the soil just change the chi in your body. So I'd love to just get parting words from you, hope, where you find it, to these incredible next generation leaders that you're both mentoring, and Al, as you're mentoring your next generation farmer that's sitting in a little square right next to you. what would you say to everybody?
I would say take a moment to just enjoy the beauty around you, whether it's your garden or a farm or a beautiful seascape or in the mountains. Just enjoy 10 or 15 minutes of quiet and contemplation of the beauty around you.
That's beautiful. I would love to share, you know, I feel, and I have felt this for a while, and I don't feel this anymore. Periodically it hits me, but I feel like I'm really deeply grounded in the impact that each of us can have as an individual. I feel like you probably all feel like there's so many challenges in the world, and we're hearing it on a daily basis. And what am I as one person going to do? And I just want to empower you. You all can make a huge difference, from even just planting a seed. That seed will live on and create so much life and beauty in the world. And just do what you're called to do, and it's going to have a ripple effect in ways that you may not even know or realize. And so, just again, going back to your calling, find what you're called to do and really stand in that as your guiding star. And you will do beautiful things in the world.